Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome back to another beautiful tutorial. It's me, IJ. Yes, it's IJ back with another tutorial. I would like to say a very big thank you to all my subscribers. You guys are amazing. You guys are very supportive. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for coming back to check on this channel what I have for you guys. I appreciate you all. So today's tutorial, we have a new tutorial. You don't need to get a new material, just come with your leftover materials. These are my leftover materials. I don't want to throw them away, so I decided to use it to achieve this project. And now, I want to achieve it with you guys. So that if you have any leftover material, don't call it a waste, don't throw it out, bring it to the table. We are going to use it to achieve this beautiful tutorial. And what's this tutorial we're going to achieve today? It is called a Gypsy skirt. Yes, it's very lovely, it's very beautiful. As you can see, it's right behind me on the screen. It is simple to make, easy to achieve. So guys, let us now get started. This is the skirt we are going to make today, and these are the lengths. I will explain it step by step. It's very easy. The length of this skirt we are making is 45 inches. It's going to be of 3 layers, 3 sets. That is 3 cotton. The first one is going to be from the shoulder to a little bit lower than my hip. I'm going to use 10 inches on the first part. That is the upper part of it, from the waist to the lower part of my hip is going to be 10 inches. But I need 1 seam allowance to add it to the band and to add it to the second one that is coming after it. So yeah, I'm going to make use of 11 inches. Then the next one is going to be 15 inches. I also need 1 seam allowance for it. It's going to be 16. So the last one is going to be 20 inches. This 20 inches, I'll add it 2 inches. Why? I also need to fold the hem and also to attach it to the one that is coming before it. So that is what we are going to achieve today. I have this leftover materials and I want to use it to achieve this project. And now, I will make use of my hip, which is the largest part of my body. The hip measurement is 42. I'll add it 2 inches seam allowance, because I don't want it to be too tight. I want it to be loose, because the Gypsy, it has to be gathered. So I want it to be free. So I'm adding 2 inches to my hip, which is 44. So I'm working with 44. So the first one now is 44 inches. So the second one, I have to double my hip measurement in order to gather it. Because if you don't double it, you are not going to gather it. It needs minimum of 1.5 to double it. If you can double it by 2 or 1.5, because of the material that I'm using, I'm going to double it with 1.5. So now 44 times 44 by 2 times 44 by 2, if you want to double it by 2, it's going to give you 88. But since I don't have up to 88 on the width, because the width is going to be long, while the length we are working with is 15. Remember, the seam allowance makes it 16. So now let me calculate it. 44 times it by 1.5, you are going to have 66. So with this 66, you are going to gather it to come to be of the same length with the upper one, which is my hip measurement. So the third one also, you are going to gather it. You are going to also times it by 1.5. If you are making use of 2, you are going to times it by 2 to get enough volume to gather. But mine is not up to 2. So I'm going to make use of what I have. Make use of what you have, provided it is larger or bigger than your your hip measurement. Because if it is not, you don't have enough material to gather. If it is the same with your hip, it is not going to be Gypsy. It's not going to be gathered. it has to be a bit larger than your hip. That is, the width has to be more for you to achieve your gathering. So now, guys, let us get started. So the first thing to cut out is our upper part, which is the 11 inches from the waist to the lower parts of my hip. So I'm going to use this because this is not up to 1 yard. So I'm going to use this. Is going to be enough to achieve the first part. That is, the first part is going to be enough. And the band I'm going to use is going to be 3 inches. So when I minus 3 inches from the 11 inches, I'm going to be left with 8 inches. So we are going to measure out 8 inches. Remember, the band is 3. When you add it, you have your full measurement. So now, guys, I'm going to fold my material. Now, guys, I have folded my material. That's my material. We are working with hip 42, but we added 2 inches both seam allowance and ease to it. So now we removed 3 inches as our band. We are left with 8 inches. Let us measure out our 8 inches. Here is our 8 inches. I'll make it into a straight line. Now here is our 8 inches. We are working here the 8 inches. That is the first panel that we are working with, the 8 inches. So now let us insert our measurement. From my hip, from my waist to my hip line is 8 inches. Remember, we removed 3 inches as our band. So I'm going to place my tape at 3 inches now. Do you see it? So I'll come down to 8 inches, which is my hip line. This is where I'm going to insert my hip. And also here, I'm going to insert my hip here. Remember, the ½ inch we are going to use to attach it to the band. So we are going to come down to 8.5. We are going to come down to 8.5. So it's here that we are going to insert our hip measurement. The hip we are working with is 42. 42 divided by 4 is going to give you 10.5. So here is our 10.5 plus 2-inch seam allowance that we added both for ease and for sewing it to the back. And the waist we are working with is waist 34. 34 divided by 4, you are going to have 8.5. So here is our 8.5 and 1-inch seam allowance. Remember, there is no dart in this skirt we are making. So I'm going to connect it now from here. You can use your free hand and also bring it down to the length, which is 11 inches. Do you see it? So you connect it and you bring it down. That's it. So now, guys, we are going to cut out this part. So now, guys, we have cut it out. And remember, you have to come down on the front side with ½ inch to ease the area of the abdomen. But I don't have to cut it now because I'm going to use this to cut out our back panel. So you just connect it. After cutting the back panel, then you trim it off. After cutting the back panel, then we trim it off. The difference between this and the back panel is just the zip allowance. So now I'm going to place it to get. I'm going to use 1 inch as my zip allowance. So just place it to get your zip allowance. So now here is my 1 inch as my zip allowance. Here is my 1 inch as my zip allowance. Then let's cut it out. Now guys, I'll open up the front to cut out the 1/2 inch that we came down now. Do you see it? I've cut out the 1/2 inch and also open the back. So guys, this is the first part of the Gypsy skirt we're making. I'm going to use this now to cut the lining. After cutting the lining, I'll attach it together. Then we'll come back to start cutting to add lining to only this. So now the next thing is to cut the second one, which is 15 inches plus seam allowance 16. So I'm going to use this now. Remember, this is just 1 yard. And my hip, the hip we are working with is 42. That's the hip with the allowance, and the ease is going to make it 43, 44. So now, if you now close the sides, you are going to be left with 43. So now I'm going to times 43 with this. Since it is not much, I don't have much material, I'm going to cut it open to join it. So now let's times 33 by 33 times 2 will give us 88 inches. So let us see if we have enough to have 88 if we times it by 2. So now guys, I have 44. I have 45 here now. So when I cut it into 2, I'm going to have 90. So I have enough. Do you see it? And let's check the length. The length we are working with is 16. And I have almost 19. So it's more than enough. So now we are going to use 2 inches because it is up to that amount. So we are going to use 2 to times to our hip, which gave us 86. So we are going to cut it 86 inches. But because it is not much, I'm going to cut it open and I'll join it to have that length of 86 inches. So that is what I'm going to do here. So now let's do it together. First, let's measure out our 16 inches. Here is our 16 inches. So we are going to measure it down through. So guys, we have measured it through. So now we have measured it through, so let us cut it out. So now let's cut here open. So now guys, you see I have 2 of it. So when I join it, I have more than 86 inches, which I need to join it to the upper one. So now after cutting, I will take it to machine just to join the 2 together. Do you see it? Then we will now have our lengthy stripe. So this, we keep it aside. Then we'll work on this. This is 20 inches plus the 2 inches, both hemming it and joining it to the next one. So let us see what we have. So now measure to see what we have. This we have 72 in two places, which is going to give us 144. So we have 72 in two places, that is the length of it. How long it is 72 inches into 2 is 144, so it's not enough. So I'm going to add it more to get the same 2 inches that we have started using. So now I'm going to add this to get to that length. So what we need is a second layer is 86 inches. So 86 inches, we are going to times it by 2. Times it by 2, we have 166. So I need more. What I have here now is 144, so I'm going to add 20 inches to it to make it 166. So now I'll do that, then I'll sew them together, and I'll come back to show to you guys before we now start joining them together. Now guys, this is the first part. I have joined it together with the lining. I've joined it together, so this is it now. So the next thing now, I'll open it up. You see how it is now. Then this is the second one that will come. Then I've also joined the two together to be one. Do you see it? It's now very long. So what I have to do now is to use the longest stitch in my machine to gather it to be the same size with here that we are going to attach it. We are going to attach it to this end. We are going to attach it here. So I'm going to gather it to come up to this length. So I'm going to gather it with the longest stitch in my machine. So I will attach it here. Do you see it? So after that, that is the second one I will do to attach to this. Then after that, I will also take this one. That is the last one. I will also gather it. I've joined it also to get to the length that we needed. So I will also gather it also to join it to this, which I will now do. After gathering it, joining it, I'll show it to you guys before we now put our zip and our band and our skirt is ready. Now guys, this is our skirt. I've gathered it to be of the same size with the first and the second. The second to be the size of the first. I've gathered it and I've joined it together, and also the third one to be the same length with, that is the same size of the second, and I've gathered it and I've joined it. Do you see how it is? Do you see our skirt is forming so beautiful? Using the 3 types of Ankara to design these beautiful skirts. Do you see it? So the next thing now to do is to add our band and also fix the zip. I'll just take it. I'll now attach the zip, and this is the zip I'm going to use, and also the band. Remember, it is 3 inches, and this is our 3 inches. Do you see it? Exactly 3 inches. So I'm going to attach it to it. Remember, this type of skirt, you can also make it without a band. You can make it with elastic. So if you want to achieve it as elastic, this upper part of it, you are not going to remove the band anymore. If your upper part is 11 inches as mine, you are going to leave it in that form. Remember, mine is 10 inches. I added 1 inch to join it to the band and to join this second one. So being 10 inches, I'm not going to remove the band anymore. Instead, I'm going to add 2 inches on 2 inches above so that I can fold it in order to insert my elastic. So now, using the elastic, you don't need your waist measurement anymore. You are going to go with your hip measurement. So you are going to bring your hip measurement up to the waist level. So instead of using your waist measurement on the waist level, you are going to use your hip measurement, after which you added 2 inches on the upper part to fold it to insert your elastic. So it's the same thing. But if you don't want to insert and you want to use a band, you use this method now I have shown to you guys. So the next thing now is to insert my zip, attach the band, and we will see how it looks.
Now guys, this is the finished look of our Gypsy skirts. Do you see how beautiful it is? Do you see it? That's our skirt that we have just DIY now with our leftover fabrics. So don't throw away your little materials that are remaining from your projects. Do you see how beautiful this looks? So simple to achieve. Do you see it? So guys, if this tutorial on how to achieve this beautiful skirts with your leftover materials has been helpful to you, don't forget to give me a giant thumbs up, like, share and comment on my videos. And if you have not subscribed, please subscribe. Subscription is free, and put on the notification bell that whenever I upload, you will be notified. I love you guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Now I'm going to show to you guys the other part of it, that is the top. I'll put the top on this mannequin for us to see how it looks. This skirt has a top, and I've made a video on how you can achieve the top. So if you're interested, please check out the video. I'll link it to the description box below for you guys to see. So guys, I love you. Continue to support me, and see you in my next video. So now watch this skirt with the top. Bye bye.